Hey everybody, it's Mr. Wagstaff. Welcome to a new course, Economics and Personal Finance. The first half of this course is going to be economics. The second half is going to be personal finance. We got a lot of stuff to get into. Today we're going to be specifically talking about the beginnings of the basics of economics, which is the whole first unit, just the basics of economics. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So the entire first unit here in economics and personal finance is going to be going over the basics of economics. So if economics in general and the complexity of that has never really crossed your mind, we're going to do some unique things here in this unit to get your brain used to it. So we're going to take something that you might not have ever thought about, and then we're going to talk about how this thing you've never talked about is extremely complicated, but then simultaneously try to simplify it to the basics. So we got multiple steps here. There's a lot of cool stuff to talk about. All right, so let's start here with the absolute beginning. What is economics? All right. So the whole reason really for this course, all right, is because society sees people that graduate high school tend to make some really ridiculous economic decisions in life and business, getting crushing credit card debt, take a loan out for a car that they can no possible way they'll be able to pay back on. And then when they ask these people, why in the world would you have done something so silly with your money? Do you not understand how the economy works? And they say all the time, no one taught me. Nobody taught me how this stuff works. So that's what this course is designed to do. More so than a lot of the other social studies course, this is supposed to give you more hands-on understanding of how society works to help you make better decisions. That is a huge part of what economics is decision making. And really thinking about each step of the process of making a decision, thinking about the decision you are going to make, and really importantly, the decision that you're not making. And sometimes, like here, you can make money here, or you can make more money here. And sometimes it's not huge stacks of money like this. But there is what's called an opportunity cost, something we'll talk about in future lessons, where when you make one decision, it eliminates another decision you could have made instead. So economics, in general, is the study of how goods and services are produced and consumed both on large and small scales. So we're going to talk a lot about how society works, and we're also going to talk about how you work individually in this course in making your decisions with your money, how you weigh making money with family, and generally the choices that you make, and try to give you the ammunition here to make good choices. So if there's right and wrong choices, we're going to try to steer you towards the right choice, or basically determining for yourself what the right choice is for you and giving you that ammunition to be able to do that moving forward in life. Economics is really, really important to learn about. The reason is because our entire society works on it. The way taxes work, the way your pay works, the way jobs work, basically managing what you have with what you want. Without an understanding of economics, people can get themselves in a lot of really, really bad situations, like crushing credit card debt, where they've basically spent more money than they could ever pay back. And then that just keeps adding up. Even if you're not spending any more money, the interest rates make that add up even more. So the question here is, in your own words, explain what economics is and why it's important to learn about. So here what I want you to do, I want you to pause me, because I'm very pausable. Pause me, answer that completely, all right, in 2 complete sentences or more, but it has to be at least 2 complete sentences. Pause me, answer that completely, and we're moving on. So the number one issue that exists in economics is the concept of scarcity. So scarcity means the limited amount of something. If something is scarce, there's not a lot of it. If there is no such thing as scarcity in economics, the entire concept and course wouldn't exist, because scarcity is a limited amount of something. We all want a bunch of stuff. And we're going to talk about that here in just a second. We'll go more into detail. But scarcity is the limited amount of stuff. So we all want something, but there's not enough for everybody in society. Therefore, it's scarcity. Like here, obviously, this is a desert with a little water spigot here. So there's clearly a limited amount of water here. So water would be scarce here. So that's more the literal definition of scarcity. We're going to talk more about it here on the widespread, more arbitrary concept of scarcity, of having limited stuff. So the scarcity, huge aspect of economics, and we're going to go more into it. Another important understanding that you have to have for economics is resources. So resources, all right, in the economy are things like land. If you own a house and you own the land, or you want to buy land, or you want to sell it to get money, that would be a resource. Labor, right, is basically a lot of times human labor, the people working. That is a resource. That's something you can exchange for money. And then there is capital, which is a little bit more complex. It's basically money you have up front to spend in order to make more money. So capital would be like you buy a business for $100,000 and that business becomes a multi-million-dollar business. The capital was whoever had that $100,000 to begin with. That is like upfront money in order to make more money from it. So the problem is there are limited resources. And whether it's land, whether it's hiring somebody to do something, or having the capital, there's a limited amount of resources. So there's a scarcity of resources needed to be able to produce. So to simplify this and try to explain it in more specific fashion, there is not enough of stuff, but we want stuff, and we're going to talk more about that. Resources are basically necessary in order to produce goods and services. So the question here is, in your own words, define scarcity and explain why this concept is so important to the understanding of economics. Let me once again go back in, because we're basically just defining vocab words here that we're going to talk more about here in a second with scarcity. Scarcity means there's not enough of the stuff that we want, but everybody wants it. How do you divide up the things that we all want among people that all want it, but not everybody can have it? That entire evaluation process, who deserves the scarce resources, stuff like land, stuff like labor, who deserves that, is the entire study of economics. So pause me, answer that completely, and we're moving on. So let's dive more into the problem of scarcity. All right, there is a absolute basic underlying emphasis on scarcity. We've already talked about scarcity is the limited amount of resources and the limited amount of stuff that we have in society that people want. So the key here, all right, and there's going to be like multiple questions on your test on this. All right, so understand this. The entire issue in economics, the whole reason economics exists, is because scarcity. There is a limited amount of stuff, but we have an unlimited amount of wanting things. We want it all. And there's unlimited amount of wants, but there's a limited amount of stuff. That causes scarcity. That is the problem of scarcity. There's a limited amount of stuff, unlimited amount of wants. So how do you divide that up? How do you deal with the things that you want? How does a society deal with that? And that is going to be the study of economics. So to give you an example here, if you had $1 million, you'd be like, yes. You know what's better than $1 million? And you're going to be like, $10 million? Exactly. That's human nature. We always want more. So the idea that our resources and the stuff that we want, being able to keep up with what we want, is impossible. So there's a couple ways here that you can handle this idea of the things you want, all right, and how to get them. So you go straight Pilgrim's days, straight Pioneer days. You live out in the prairie. If you want something, you basically make it yourself. All right. If you want a chair, you learn how to make a chair. You go out, you put it all together, you whittle it together, you make a chair. All right. That is one way of doing it. That is not really done anymore today. What we would do today is we would go buy one. You'd go buy a chair. Now, who are you buying a chair from? Well, probably somebody that makes chairs for a living. All right. Or a furniture maker in general, but somebody that makes chairs for a living. So it used to be everybody just, hunters and gatherers concepts way back in the day. Everybody just made their own stuff. That's not a thing that happens anymore. Now we divide up what's called division of labor or specialization of labor, where like there's a chair maker that you'd go buy a chair from. That chair maker, obviously he needs to buy food. He doesn't make food. With the money he makes from selling chairs, he'll turn around and go buy food. So, before the concept of money came up, we had a bartering system, all right? And I say we, I mean humankind. If you made a chair, all right, and you needed food, you could just trade your chair for food, all right? So whatever you made, whatever your division of labor, whatever your job specialty was, you would just trade that for what you want. However, that gets really complicated. Like here in this picture, this guy's trading an accordion for a cat. Is that the exchange rate? Is it one accordion per cat? What if it's like a really pretty cat? Is it two accordions for it? Like, how is it consistent in bartering with value from one thing to another? So we introduced the idea of money into society. Money in society is really, really important because this is how we buy and sell things and assign value to things to be able to purchase. So for this course, money is an intricate part of the value of things in economics. We're not going to go a whole bunch into it here in the first unit on how money works. We will, and it'll start blowing your mind. But money is basically the representative value used to buy something. So the question here is, explain how unlimited wants and limited resources ends up being the entire foundation of economics. And why there would be no need for economics if wants and resources were equal. So, I understand some of this is like, what? Like, why are you taking something simple and making it complicated? We have to kind of break up these ideas of economics here early on because we're going to start diving into each individual one. So, the whole point of economics is basically to decide, right, how to allocate resources. What price do you assign to different resources that everybody wants, all right? So everybody would want a car, so it gets assigned a price. Everybody might want a yacht. That gets assigned a price. Just because you want something doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to buy it, because a yacht is going to be worth a whole lot more than a car. Economics and the entire study of how this happens, why some things are worth more than others, and what the pros and cons of that is the entire measurement of economics, because everything is scarce. There's a limited supply of everything because our wants are unlimited. So there's always less stuff than what we want because we want everything. That's not a real number that you can quantify. So what's important to know about that is that if everything we wanted was readily there for everybody, if there's an unlimited amount of stuff, there'd be no need for economics. We would all just have it. We wouldn't have to pay for anything because everybody could have it because nobody's having to make a sacrifice to have it. The issue that we have unlimited wants and a limited supply of stuff is the entire basis of economics, which is what this question is asking. So pause me, answer this completely, and we're moving on. All right, so the division and specialization of labor. So the division of labor, we already mentioned it, is where people will go make chairs, and that is their full-time job. All right, that not everybody goes and grows all their own food they eat and make all their own stuff. In a society, we have job specialization. It is basically the job that you do in society for the benefit of society. I'm a teacher. That's my job. Being a teacher in no way grows food for me. I get paid in order to be a teacher. I use that money to go buy food to live. All right. And I keep teaching and they pay me. So this is my skill set. This is my division of labor is I'm a teacher. So everybody that does things that basically gets money and buys the stuff they need would be a division of labor. There's also specialization, which is a further breakdown inside the division of labor. So my division of labor is I'm a teacher. My specialization, well, right here is economics and personal finance. That would be my specialization as a teacher. Why do people have specialization? Because it makes big corporations much more effective. And it's not a new thing. Back in ancient Egypt, they had all types of job specialization of different people that did different things that they focused on. In organizations, so if you work at a warehouse, not everybody at the warehouse shows up and warehouses. Everybody has a specific job that they focused on. So like framing, siding, painting, inspecting, shipping, these are all different jobs that can take place inside a corporation. Job specialization is absolutely pivotal, all right, inside a corporation for a variety of reasons. The main reason being the reason job specialization is so important is it really allows people to focus on their strengths. So we're going to talk more about that here in a second. But if everybody showed up to do the same job, there are things that everybody would try to do, and because it would be so overwhelming, you have to do all the warehouse work. By assigning people to specific jobs, everything gets done and it gets done equally. If you didn't have that, there would definitely be parts of these big corporations that wouldn't get done if people weren't assigned to it. So assigning people to different jobs in these complex corporations is job specialization. And that's why you do it. We don't all just show up as teachers every day and say, all right, I want to go coach. I want to go be the gym teacher today, and everybody runs into the gym to be the gym teacher. That's not how it works, because then nobody will be teaching economics and personal finance. So there's job specialization so that all parts of the jobs get done effectively. So the question here is, what is job specialization, and why is it a pivotal necessity in modern economies? So pause me, answer that completely. We're moving on. All right. So division of labor, all right, specifically job specialization, increases production. It might seem odd. So a factory that just has 50 workers and all 50 workers show up and like, all right, factory, you go do your stuff. They will put out a certain amount of product. If they show up and they're all assigned a specific job, the factory as a whole will produce more. That is just proven time and time again in economics. Why is that? Well, there's a handful of reasons why job specialization increases productivity. So these, I tried to, the least controversial I could find when we talk about sports. These are considered the GOATs kind of their specific sports. Michael Jordan in basketball. You got Tom Brady here, which, again, not a Tom Brady fan as this is being recorded. He is still playing in the NFL, and you're 75. And honestly, if you're watching this, this is being recorded in 2023, if you are watching this in, 2070, he might still be playing quarterback. Who knows? The man's amazing that he's there. I'm ready for him to retire so I can like him again. So Tom Brady, fantastic NFL quarterback. And then Tiger Woods here at the bottom is generally considered in his prime the greatest golfer of all time. All right. However, they clearly specialize at their job. They're the greatest they ever are at basketball, football, golf. While they're all great athletes, if they switched jobs, all right, if Tiger Woods had to go be a quarterback, if Tom Brady had to go play guard in the 80s and 90s with the Chicago Bulls, and then Michael Jordan actually is a really good golfer, but he's not Tiger Woods level, all right? If they all switched jobs, the overall productivity of what these three did would go down. They would not be winning championships because that's not their special, that's not their individual skill set. So job specialization is really important for sorry, lost my train of thought. Job specialization is really important for basically focusing on the strengths of individual employees. If you had me go teach science, we might be in trouble, all right? You had me teach pretty much anything social studies or how society works, that's my jam. There's things I would really struggle on, so obviously I wouldn't go teach that. My bosses wouldn't want me to go teach that. So here's, I thought you guys would like this. Job specialization, when you focus on one specific thing, the benefit of that in a factory situation is it's usually pretty quick. So when you focus on things in a factory situation, it's usually pretty quick. And you're pretty good at it. So some of these are videos of people that just do their job insanely fast here. Now, this is probably what they do all day, every day. All right, you're not this skilled and this quick at this unless you've done it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So job specialization actually ends up speeding up the process of each individual part of a job because it's been repetitive so much and people are so skilled at it. Now, there is another thing that causes that leads to the benefit of job specialization. That it reduces the price of products. So we're going to get into supply and demand later on in this unit because it is a pivotal part of basic economics of dealing with scarcity. How do you allocate scarce resources? So what ends up happening though is the better people are at job specialization and working collectively with everybody working on their specific part, especially in a factory setting, it increases the production of things, which is awesome for people because it lowers the price. When you can work faster, you produce more. When factories are producing more, all right, the price of that comes down. They really learned this at the turn of the century. One of the most famous examples of this is the creation of the assembly line. So job specialization had happened. It had been wagons. Everybody would go around and they'd be in a factory. And there might be a wheel maker. Guy just goes and makes the wheels of every wagon. They have all the wagons sitting in the middle of the big factory. He goes around and puts all the wheels on. That was fine. That's job specialization. Here's how just a small change to that can have a drastic impact on the entire society. So they decided, hey, instead of having these guys walk around to each individual wheel and do it, let's make a conveyor belt in which they stand in the same location and the product comes to them. This is the assembly line. Henry Ford, a Ford Motor Company, is very famous for having created the concept and really embracing the idea of the assembly line. So the only change here is instead of the dude walking from car to car putting the wheels on, he stays in one place and the car is on a conveyor belt and it comes to him. Just that little bit of change actually sped up the entire process. Everybody stood in the same place, the car comes to you. Eliminating having to walk from vehicle to vehicle to do your job sped up the entire process of making the vehicle. Okay, how does that affect anything, Mr. Wagstaff? This is what happened to the price of cars with the invention of the assembly line. So right around the turn of the century, in the early 1900s, a new car would be almost $1,000. The Model T Ford comes out, and because they can mass produce it, they got that price down below $300 for a new car. We're going to talk about inflation, deflation. Money doesn't always have the same amount, but a brand new car below $300, it basically cut like 70 or 80% off of the price of the car because they could produce it faster. Job specialization allows factories to produce things faster. And when they can produce things faster, all right, then they can sell more, they can make bigger profits, and they can do so by selling it at a lower cost. So present day, and this is a present day assembly line, what it looks like, that it is all about the speed of what you can do your job at with job specialization, because the faster you can do it, the more profits the company makes, and the happier the consumers are because the price of the product comes down. So the question here is, how does specialization of labor help maximize productivity? Well, you can do it faster. And the faster you can do things, you can produce more quicker at a higher quality. So specialization helps you work faster, more efficiently, and it brings the cost down. So it drastically increases productivity to have job specialization in the labor market. All right, so answer that completely. That's as much as I got for you guys today. I will see you guys tomorrow.